I'm very pleased to be granted this honorary degree as you are honored today.
I'm really excited to receive this honorary degree, especially since today is a big day for you all, with some surprising events shaking up the Catholic Church. Cardinal Luis has kicked off a debate that's left a ton of faithful followers scratching their heads. During what seemed like a routine chat with U.S. priests back in June, Cardinal Luis brought up some serious tensions around Pope Francis's bold vision for reforming the Church. Just a reminder, Jesus is praying for you. As things settle down, bigger worries about Catholic identity and change are coming to light. Could this clash mean we're on the brink of the biggest transformation in modern Catholic history? Let's dive into the heated debates between these two influential figures in the Church. May the God who is love bless the poor, the human family, and all of creation. Now, here's the juicy part. Sources close to the Vatican are hinting that Cardinal Luis's challenge to Pope Francis goes way deeper than anyone thought. While everyone was focused on their public spat, something even more dramatic was brewing behind closed doors. Vatican insiders are calling it the Summer of Discontent. In July 2023, 5 conservative cardinals dropped a major theological bomb by submitting some pretty controversial questions. These weren't just any questions. They hit on the Church's most sensitive topics, like homosexuality and women's ordination. And here's where it gets really interesting. When Pope Francis responded on October 2, 2023, he didn't just answer those questions. He flipped decades of tradition on its head. Just like his groundbreaking document, Amoris Laetitia from 2016, which led to a 40% increase in how major dioceses around the world approached divorced Catholics. The tension between traditionalists and progressives has reached a boiling point, with some church historians even comparing this moment to the reforms of Vatican II, which we all know changed everything. To really grasp how big this clash is, we need to look at Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagel's incredible journey. Born in Manila in 1957, Cardinal Luis's rise in the Church feels like a true success story. After his ordination in 1982, he became one of the youngest cardinals in modern history. His doctorate from the Catholic University of America wasn't just another degree. It focused on the very issues now shaking the Church. While everyone is caught up in the theological debates, not many know about the explosive accusations from former Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte against Cardinal Luis. These serious claims of political interference sparked rumors of Vatican intervention. Although fellow bishops quickly brushed off these allegations, they add another layer to this unfolding drama. Now, let's talk about the other key players in this church showdown. Pope Francis, the first Latin American pope and the first Jesuit to take the papal throne, has an incredible story. Born Jorge Mario Bergoglio, his journey from chemical technician to pope is nothing short of amazing. Here's something that might surprise you. Since becoming pope in 2013, he's made more structural changes to the Church than any pope in the last 60 years. Plus, his social media game is strong, with over 53 million Twitter followers across different languages. He's really earned the nickname, the Digital Pope. But it's not all about likes and retweets. The Church under Francis has faced some huge challenges, especially with abuse cases. Recent studies show that his push for transparency has led to a 67% increase in reported cases, which both supports his approach and raises some serious questions. Amid all this change in the Catholic Church, Pope Francis and Cardinal Luis Antonio are stepping up as distinct voices, each with their own take on the Church's pressing issues. Throughout 2023, while Pope Francis has tackled global issues with a broad, revolutionary perspective, Cardinal Luis has stuck to a more traditional, locally grounded approach to faith and practice. In his recent encyclical, The Exit Knows, published on October 24th, he shared that one's heart really reflects who they are, shaping their spiritual identity and fostering connections with others. This document, though not as publicized as his social encyclicals like Laudato Si and Fratelli Tutti, shows the underlying tensions in how the Church is trying to modernize. But wait, there's more. Cardinal Luis Pro, who heads the Dicastery for Evangelization, shared his thoughts with Vatican News. His careful words highlighted subtle differences in emphasis while still acknowledging the Pope's vision, focusing on traditional devotional practices, especially from his home in the Philippines. You know, in my own small way, I really want to express my gratitude to the Filipino people. There's this interesting gap between global reforms and local traditions that really stands out. You can see it in how they deal with the idea of sin. Pope Francis is all about shaking things up with structural changes and making everyone feel included. On the flip side, Cardinal Luis really values those traditional, heart-to-heart connections between pastors and their communities. He points out that without those genuine relationships, ones touched by divine grace, missionary efforts can end up feeling just like bureaucratic red tape, which seems like a gentle nudge at some of the reform ideas in the Philippines, where Cardinal Luis has a lot of influence. The devotion to the Sacred Heart is still very much a traditional thing. This grassroots spirituality, with its focus on family and national pride, contrasts nicely with Francis's broader global vision. Cardinal Luis talks about asking the heart of Jesus to guide their families and country with mercy and love. As the Church gears up for the 2025 Jubilee, he's leaning toward a more conservative approach to faith and governance. These different takes on Francis's global reform push and Cardinal Luis's traditional devotion create a bit of a dynamic tension in the Church's leadership. Both of them talk about hope and renewal, but their roots to those goals show very different visions for the Church's future. The release of the Lexington Nose has sparked conversations about finding a balance between tradition and reform, and Cardinal Luis's response seems to blend support with a bit of caution. His reminder that we should keep asking Jesus to transform our hearts feels like both a nod to Francis's vision and a subtle call for a more gradual change. Throughout 2023, Cardinal Luis has been a steady voice for getting laypeople more involved in the Church, taking part in interviews and discussions about the reforms under Pope Francis. He's been supportive of initiatives that boost lay and women's leadership, all while hinting that he might have done things a bit differently. This careful approach to progress has really shaped Cardinal Luis's attitude toward reform, especially after Pope Francis's encyclical dropped on October 24th, 2023. Cardinal Luis really connected with its themes, especially as they relate to the upcoming Jubilee and the Dicastery for Evangelization. He stressed putting love at the heart of church life, presenting the Sacred Heart of Jesus as a beacon of hope and mercy for a hurting world. In his chat with Vatican media, Cardinal Luis drew from his Filipino roots, reflecting on the deep devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus that's a big part of Philippine spirituality and his own upbringing. The timing of the delicate nose was particularly noteworthy, coming right after Francis's social doctrine encyclicals, Laudato Si and Fratelli Tutti. When asked about this unexpected sequence, Cardinal Luis shared an interesting take, calling Pope Francis a Pope of surprises. He noted that while the announcement of the encyclical was a bit of a surprise given the focus on the Synod of Bishops, it made sense for the Holy Father to release something about Jesus' love, represented by the Sacred Heart. For Cardinal Luis, the encyclical connected the dots between Francis's earlier works, making the Christ-centered foundation of those social encyclicals clearer. He believes that accepting Jesus' love helps people see each other as family and inspires them to be caring and responsible stewards of the planet. He encouraged people to revisit those earlier social encyclicals, suggesting they'd find hints of the themes already present in them. This link to everyday spirituality really resonates in the Philippines, where the devotion to the Sacred Heart is still super popular. Fast forward to July 21, 2024, when Cardinal Luis acted as Pope Francis's special envoy at the National Eucharistic Congress in Indianapolis. He stressed the importance of looking at life as a gift rather than just a checklist of achievements, and he called for a deeper engagement with the Eucharist as a transformative experience. While this message fits well with Catholic teachings, it subtly nudged the focus back to traditional sacramental practices, which can challenge some of Pope Francis's priorities. Cardinal Luis's leadership style is all about being diplomatic yet principled, especially when it comes to his ongoing fight against poverty and political corruption. He's been a champion for marginalized communities in the Philippines and beyond, often standing up to powerful interests. Cardinal Luis Antonio Go Kim from the Philippines even won the 2015 Ford Family Notre Dame Award for Human Development and Solidarity. And together, we walk for a better humanity. Cardinal Luis has been a true champion for the poor and vulnerable. He's the 32nd Archbishop of Manila and is known for being both down-to-earth and dynamic. Whether he's biking around town or rallying huge crowds with his inspiring speeches. Born in 1957, he grew up in a devout Catholic family and was ordained as a priest in 1982. After spending 3 years as a parish priest in Cavite and teaching theology at various seminaries, he decided to deepen his knowledge with further studies. This academic journey laid the groundwork for his impactful career. In 1991, he earned a doctorate in sacred theology from the Catholic University of America, writing his dissertation on episcopal collegiality during Vatican II. His dissertation director, Joseph Coleman Chalk, praised him as one of the best students he'd ever had in over 40 years of teaching, suggesting that Cardinal Luis could have been a leading theologian if he hadn't become a bishop. This solid academic background shaped his pastoral style, blending intellectual depth with genuine compassion. Recognition came quickly for Cardinal Luis. Pope John Paul II appointed him to the Vatican's International Theological Commission in 1997, and in 2001, he became the Bishop of Imus in the Philippines. In this role, he focused on living humbly and staying connected with the community he served. A decade later, Pope Benedict XIII named him the Archbishop of Manila, and in 2012, he joined the College of Cardinals, becoming the second youngest member since 2015. Cardinal Luis has also served as the president of Caritas International, a network of over 160 Catholic relief organizations that help those in need, no matter their background. With this platform, he's pushed to end poverty, promote justice, and restore dignity, especially in light of the international migrant crisis. He's been active on various committees, addressing family issues and supporting migrants and itinerant peoples. Even with all his achievements, Cardinal Luis stays humble. He's known for being friendly and approachable, preferring to go by his nickname, Chito, instead of his formal title. His social media presence is strong, especially on Facebook, where he shares videos of his homilies and talks, racking up over 500,000 likes. Throughout his ministry, he spreads messages of hope and forgiveness worldwide. Cardinal Luis has been a strong voice for the poor and marginalized, both in the Philippines and globally. He's taken a firm stand against the death penalty and political corruption, and has been active in addressing the refugee crisis and climate change. He believes that the refugee issue often gets boiled down to numbers, urging people to connect with migrants personally. He emphasizes the human lives involved, insisting that decisions should be made with respect for human dignity and the common good, or else the issues will just keep going. To really understand Cardinal Luis, you have to recognize how he's challenged traditional views within the Church. He's particularly outspoken against the death penalty, championing the sanctity of life, a stance that often puts him at odds with government policies that support harsh penalties. He consistently speaks out against taking lives, grounding his beliefs in the value of life. Things got even more interesting in October 2024 during a key Vatican summit, where the tension between traditional and progressive voices in the Church came to a head. Pope Francis stressed the importance of not pushing personal agendas and defended his reform efforts, with Cardinal Luis playing a significant role in the discussions about the Church's future direction. On October 2nd, during the opening Mass of the Synod on Synodality, Pope Francis urged everyone to avoid framing their contributions as things to defend at all costs. He warned that this could lead to unproductive conversations where people push their own causes without truly listening to one another or to the voice of the Lord. The stakes were pretty high for this gathering in Rome, where around 400 delegates from all over the world came together to wrap up a long consultation process that Pope Francis kicked off back in 2021. This unique initiative invited Catholics everywhere to share their thoughts on how to make the Church more inclusive and welcoming to everyone. The response was huge. Millions of Catholics got involved. During the first session in previous years, delegates with all kinds of perspectives had some intense and sometimes heated discussions about tough issues the Church is facing. They talked about everything from clergy abuse and women's roles in ministry to including people of diverse sexual orientations and gender identities, as well as questions about church authority. As the delegates got back together, Pope Francis made it clear that he wanted to move past these contentious topics. He was more interested in figuring out how church structures could boost participation and where genuine diversity might exist among local churches. At the opening Mass in St. Peter's Square, he stressed the importance of listening to and understanding the different voices, ideas, expectations, and proposals within the Church. He mentioned that with the guidance of the Holy Spirit, this collective discernment is key to hearing God's voice in the Church, setting a positive tone for the gathering. Delegates took part in a 2-day retreat led by Dominican Father Timothy Radcliffe, who used a fishing net as a metaphor to get his point across. He talked about how the Church can embrace the diverse cultures of the world and how it can pull in a net filled with fish from every culture without breaking it. Radcliffe pointed out that a net has empty spaces connected by ropes, and both are crucial for it to work well. The diversity of the gathering was evident as ecumenical delegates from various Christian traditions and lay representatives from around the globe led the procession through St. Peter's Square, followed by priests, bishops, and cardinals at the altar. They all welcomed Pope Francis, who arrived in a wheelchair. The 87-year-old pontiff, who has made synodality the centerpiece of his papacy and the main way to push for church reforms, reminded everyone that the issues at hand were significant and delicate, needing humility and careful listening to achieve harmony. Amid this push for unity, Cardinal Luis stuck to his traditional views while still supporting the Pope. However, there was a subtle tension in the air, hinting that things might be getting a bit out of control. In October 2024, Pope Francis approved the final document from the Synod on Synodality, marking a big step in church governance reform. This document suggests giving women more roles, increasing lay participation in decision-making, and calling for structural changes within the Church. While not everyone was on board with these changes, those who disagreed didn't have much power to challenge the Pope's decision. Even Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, who showed some signs of disagreement, ultimately went along with Pope Francis's direction. In a big change from past synods, Pope Francis decided to adopt the final document directly, skipping the usual apostolic exhortation and going straight for immediate implementation. The 52-page document, which got the thumbs up from 355 synod members present, lays out substantial proposals for church renewal, including more leadership roles for women and significant structural reforms. Although Cardinal Luis, known for his traditionalist stance, may have had his doubts, he chose not to rock the boat and aligned himself with Pope Francis's vision. The Pope's commitment to renewal went beyond just administrative changes. It also included personal engagement with the faithful. On December 26, 2024, Pope Francis made a visit to a prison in Rome to kick off the Holy Year with a really meaningful gesture. He opened a holy door there, highlighting hope for the inmates and stressing how important prison ministry is to him. He also urged for some big changes in the Italian prison system to tackle issues like overcrowding and inmate care. This visit came right after his heartfelt Christmas celebration the day before on December 25, 2020, where he shared his Christmas message to mark the start of the 2025 Holy Year. During his Urbi et Orbi address, he passionately called for peace in the midst of global conflicts. They expect around 32 million pilgrims to flock to Rome for this Holy Year, focusing on themes like hope and reconciliation. The Pope's visit to the prison was especially significant since he chose Rabbia for the second Holy Door opening of the Jubilee, rising from his wheelchair to do it. He knocked on the chapel door and stepped through it, echoing his earlier gesture at St. Peter's Basilica on Christmas Eve. When he spoke to the inmates, he shared that the first Holy Door he opened was at Christmas in St. Peter's, but he felt it was important to open the second one in a prison. He expressed his hope that everyone, both inside and outside, would open their hearts and see that hope never disappoints. This commitment to prison ministry has been a big part of his papacy since 2013, and he's made many visits to Rabbia and other prisons around the world. His Christmas Day Urbi et Orbi address really hit home with urgent calls for peace. Speaking from St. Peter's Basilica to thousands of people gathered below, he urged everyone and all nations to be pilgrims of hope, asking them to quiet the sounds of weapons and bridge divides. He specifically called for negotiations between Ukraine and Russia to find a fair and lasting peace, even as Russia was carrying out what they called a massive strike on Ukrainian energy facilities that very Christmas Day. But here's the twist. There are some subtle tensions brewing within the church hierarchy. Cardinal Luis might have different views on certain issues, and while he's more traditional and conservative, it hasn't led to any open conflict. I work for Caritas, and the back and forth between these two church leaders reflects a bigger conversation about where modern Catholicism is headed. Even though both are pushing for change, they sometimes clash over how to make it happen. Like Cardinal Luis wanting to use social media for evangelization, while Francis is all about structural reforms. So, what's really behind the buzz in this historic debate? Is it just a clash of these big personalities inspired by Pope Francis's Laudato Si and Fatality? Or does it point to a deeper divide in the Church's future direction? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. And check out the video on your screen. You'll enjoy it.